When I was reading through that gospel during the week, dear friends, I was reminded of a story. I came across it years ago. But a young man who was fascinated with nature, with flowers and with trees, with birds and bees, and spent a lot of his time wandering around in the wood near his home. And he would sit there watching. And on this particular day, he sat there and he watched a small opening in a cocoon. And a butterfly, for a long time, was struggling to force its body through the little hole. And then he seemed to be giving up. But he was tiring, not making any progress. As it appeared that he had gone as far as he could and couldn't move, could go no further. So this young man, in his kindness and his compassion, he said he would try to himself, I would try to help him. So this pair of scissors that he had, he gently snipped off a small bit of the cocoon, and then the butterfly emerged, came out easily. But he had a swollen body and small shriveled wings. And he continued there to watch the butterfly because he had expected that immediately he would fly off and go on his way. He expected that the wings would enlarge and expand and be able to support the body. But nothing happened. In fact, the butterfly spent his time just crawling around and his swollen body and his shriveled wings, and he realized then something that he had never thought about before. That he in his kindness and in his haste did not understand that restricting cocoon and the struggle required by the butterfly to emerge, to get out through that tiny opening, was nature's way and God's way of forcing the fluid from the body of the butterfly into the wings. In that way, then he would be able to fly once it achieved its freedom from the cocoon. So that the pain and the struggle to emerge was the shaping and forming of that butterfly to achieve what its own very nature in its own life was within himself. Suffering, dear friends, I think it is within the whole human condition. It chases us like a shadow. And I think that to my mind, makes some connection to the words today that Jesus spoke. Come to me, all you who labour and are overburdened, and you'll find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. I think when we look into our own experience, when we look back in our lives, we reflect on people that you and I know, families, we know that suffering walks with us in some shape or form. For some it's very obvious. For others it can be very quiet and it can go scarcely noticed in the public eye. That it is there like a shadow. And we've all experienced that in some way or other in our own lives. And so often it strikes totally out of the blue. You know, when you look back and how a whole week and a whole life can be changed, strikes us in some corner of the road, and we wonder, and we struggle, and we question. A colleague of mine, known each other for years, huge man, strong as an oak. About 2 years ago, it started with cancer, and then an aneurysm, and it took ages, and he found it so difficult. A very strong, energetic, talented, compassionate man who sat when he had bedside, stood strong and firm with people, and now there he was, sprawled on the bed. But he would talk about the transformation that happened in his own life, the learning in his own experience. He had gone through this inner journey, and the transformation he was reflecting on. You will find rest for your soul as a promise of Jesus. What is within that rest? That kind of composure, that kind of inner experience, and that enables us to cope. And isn't it extraordinary as well how that pain and that darkness, how people around us can give us a lift just by being present, just by listening, maybe a word or a memory. And you know, so often people will look back and they'll tell you and they'll say, and I'm sure you'll say to yourself in your own experience, you're stronger for it. Because the reality is that the Spirit of God lives within us. And it is the power of that Spirit that enables us to discover new dimensions and new depths within ourselves, just simply to cope and get a new insight. I remember 3 years ago visiting the hospital in Galway, when Nathaniel, a friend of mine I knew quite well, and this man, a strong farmer, and he was there and the family were around the bed. I'd gone through difficult days. And when they left, we just chatted briefly, and he said to me what had helped him in recent days was looking at a small black crucifix he had, and how he was trying to put that between his pain and his suffering and himself. Come to me, all you who labour and are overburdened, and I will give you rest.